Every entrepreneur dreams of overcoming all challenges to experience the sweet taste of success and to see their business soar to unrivaled heights. Bank propels your business forward by offering banking without barriers and supporting your business goals.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the ProfitMAX podcast, where we bring you added value. Because if you read this book, you get lots of value, but sometimes it's good to hear perspectives from different corporate leaders. And that's what this whole program is about. Every week, we interview one or two corporate leaders, industry leaders, to tap into their insights, their experience, and their knowledge base. And sometimes when you hear it from a different perspective, you get some new nuggets as well. So today, we're very pleased to have with us Mr. Rodney Wong, who is the CEO and also a board director of Munchy's, the huge biscuit company. And I'll be introducing him in a little while, no? But you know, Munchy's, I mean, as an SME, we have to take on all kinds of competition. We work in very competitive scenarios. And Munchy's is one of those organizations who has to fight not only the local competition, but also international players. So I'm very happy to have with us the CEO and board director of Munchy's, Rodney Wong. Hi, Rodney.
Hi, Peter. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great.
Maybe let me just give a quick introduction about myself.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been with Munchy for 7 years. I'm the CEO, but a lot of things that people don't know about me. I started really from the bottom as a sales rep with the Rothmans of Powerhouse, one of the largest cigarette company in the past, and I think they folded into what's the name of the company now? But anyway, so
Benson and Hedges company, right? Yeah.
Yes. No, Rothman of Powerhouse is Dunhill.
Yeah, I know. So they merged with the Benson and Hedges company, which I can't remember the name now.
Yes.
British American Tobacco.
Yes. It's folded into BAT now.
Yes.
So I started my craft there as a sales rep, and then I moved on to a totally different category, the medical diagnostic with Abbott's Laboratories. Spent a couple of years there. Then I joined Unilever. I spent most of my time in Unilever learning most of the sales craft there. Really great company and great leaders. And I left to be part of the pioneer team with Coca-Cola when Coca-Cola have taken the business back from F&N. So we set up the route to markets, and of course the other team set up the factory. And later I moved to Petronas, lubricant Malaysia. I was heading that business for a period of time. We did a very interesting business transformation there, moving from a very trading kind of model to a FMCG model. Then my good friend from Munchy's, who is the founder, called me and asked me to come in and help him to run the business. And I've been here for 7 years. And Munchy's, as everyone knows, we are today the #1 biscuit brands in Malaysia. Something that we are really proud of, from a very small startup to today, the largest biscuit company in Malaysia. We also export to about 50 countries. Some popular brands that you may be familiar with is Lexus, Hot Crunch.
I'm a big fan of Hot Crunch, actually.
Yeah, wow, that's great. And you can't be wrong with Hot Crunch. I will tell you a little bit more later. Yeah. And recently we launched our Munchy Cracker Plus, packed with wholesome goodness. Like it's a really healthy segment that we're moving in. One of the ingredients, example, one of the variants, you have chia seed, you know. During my free time, I volunteer with Childhood Cancer International, where I sit in the board, and also this year is appointed as the vice president. And also, I continue to work with the Sarawak Children Cancer Society. I've been there for about 20 years.
Oh.
Also, I do mentoring. I work with an NGO called Endeavor, mentoring startup CEOs. So I hope that gives you a glimpse of my very humble career.
Yeah, it's amazing, no? You've come a very long way, Rodney. And I know academically you also have an MBA, right?
Yes. It's a very interesting story. I never actually went to college, because we don't come from a very strong financial background as a family. So when I started working in the 80s, I realized that you need a good document to prove how good you are, right? So I went on to do correspondence courses, doing my diploma in marketing, and during that time MBA was a wretch, so I also took up MBA part-time. I still remember I was juggling having a young family. My daughter was just born, and I have to spend time when I was traveling trying to read up on the subject and prepare for the courses in the public library during the weekends. So it was quite challenging time, but I guess it's all worth it, right? Personal development is so important, and it got me to where I am today. So it's well invested kind of development for me.
Yes. I think it's also testimony of your drive and determination, no, Rodney? Yeah. So very good. Well done. Congratulations on that. So maybe you could share with us a bit about the biscuit industry and how competitive is it?
Yeah. Well, biscuits, Malaysia is really a major category. High in-home penetration, 90%. That means most of us have some kind of biscuits there in your house, right? So hopefully the brand will be Lexus or Crunch or Munchies. Although it's really matured, it also has steady growth, between 2 to 3% every year, growing. Four big key players. You have us, Munchies. We also have multinational Mondelez. You have Hapsang. Everybody knows their crackers, and you have Julie's. So 4 players basically dominate 70% of the market. And of course, there are many other local and international players as well. So in biscuit as in food, taste will be a key consideration. You have multiple flavor, multiple format like sandwich, cookie, crackers, and well, very well spread out distribution. You walk into any mom and pop shop or supermarket or mini market, you will be able to get buy any biscuits.
Okay. So maybe, Rod, you could tell us what are some of the key success factors in the biscuit industry, and how has Munchies been able to achieve number one in a very highly competitive scenario?
Well, so when I first joined Munchies, right, it's a great company, well-developed brands, growing well, high-quality product, great people. But at the same time, it has really invested ahead of the curve in terms of commercial spending, in terms of people development. So you have a large team, but the business size is still not that big. So the choice really at that time before I joined was having market share at the expense of profit. So then I asked the founder, I said, hey, you brought me in, what do you want? So I asked him, he said, so what do you mean? I said, are you looking for profit or are you looking for top line or market share? I said I can try to do one of each. Yeah, but if you want both, it's going to be as challenging, right? If you want market share, you must invest. So the founder is very shrewd. They asked me, what should you think I should do? I said, look, you are a local business, right? I think we should go after profit. Yeah. So then he said, okay, if that is your direction, lead us to grow more profit. And the other thing that I realized when I joined the company was we were doing a lot of activities to drive market share. I remember there was an incident where, the commercial team came to me and said that, look, I need you to approve this promotion. I said, why? Normally, you go through finance, the CFO should be able to approve this. Then they said, no, CFO said, ask me to refer to you. So I was looking at their form. I was new, right? So the promotion, the proposal form, I look at it and it looks to me like you have a negative ROI. So then I asked them, I said, so does this mean that if we do this promotion, it's a Chinese New Year promotion with one of the largest retailer, we will have a negative ROI of 250,000? They said yes. and I said, what if we are very successful? What if we double the result? Then we will lose 500,000. Then I asked them a very simple question. I said, look, if this is your own company, would you do it? So there was a pause, and of course they said no, they are not going to do it. I said, that is your answer, right? Then they said, can we cancel the promotion? I said, sure, you can cancel the promotion, or you can redesign the promotion to come up with something, but at least giving us profit, right? Business is about growing profit. So that's when I launched what we call the Path to Profitable Growth, which basically try to strengthen the business fundamental as well as to drive the financial discipline. So that's one thing that the challenges that I find when I joined the company. The other one was there being a local business. Most local businesses have less focus on people development. Yes, we have great people. I can tell you, I've worked in a lot of companies, but the Munchy team are really people with very strong will. Yeah, you give them a direction, they will do whatever they can to try to achieve the result. But at the same time, being a local business, if you have not invested in the growth of your people, there is a gap in skill. So we started to invest in people in skills. For me, hindsight is 2020 vision. It's all about learning and applying what works well and avoiding what didn't go right. Yeah. I hope I answered your questions.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is the way you took it, the way you grew the company was, well, first of all, you changed the mindset and the orientation of the team, the commercial team, by asking them some basic fundamental questions and getting them to focus on profitability, which you had already got alignment from the owners that that's the way you want to drive the business initially, right? And in addition, you also discovered that there were some skill gaps in the team, and realizing how important that is, you started to upgrade and upskill the team. Yeah. Fantastic. Yes. Very good. So, well, then how did you take it from there? So that was the initial, I guess, the first phase of your first your 7 years there. Maybe you can tell us how did things progress from there, and how did you eventually end up? Because I think you were not number one at that time, were you?
No. So strategy is really important, right? And you need to have vision in the company. Yeah. So our vision is very straightforward. We want clarity, and we want we don't want to have a vision or a mission that is, very cluttered and people don't understand. So we came out with 3 very simple pillar. One is we want to be number 1 in Malaysia. Secondly is we want to build a strong business, what we call the Southeast Asia powerhouse. And it makes sense because when you want to grow market, proximity to your source of supply is very important, right? Because our factory is in Malaysia, it makes sense for us to focus on the surrounding market. And if you look at Southeast Asia is one of the highest growing region in the world, and you have a really large population. So you have a good consumer base, and it's close to your source of supply, and that give you a good access into the markets. And furthermore, although Southeast Asia is very diverse, it's also the consumer are also fairly similar in some extent, right? If you look at Indonesia and Malaysia, you have the Malays and in Indonesia, as well as the Malays in Malaysia. If you look at the Philippines as well, some of the habits, some of the consumption habits is really is quite similar as well. The other one that we look at, that's the second pillar, to build a Southeast Asia powerhouse. And the third pillar is for us to enter a new business. I think for us, Munchies, we only play in the biscuit category. And that is basically putting all our eggs in one basket. And it's very important that we explore another category. So that's why we came out with the third pillar is for us to enter a new category. So since then, we have taken market leadership in Malaysia. We have started to grow our business outside Malaysia, focusing in the Southeast Asia region. Still a long way to go because it's not as simple. It's really challenging when you try to grow the business outside the country because there are a lot of investment to consider. And third is something that we have worked on. We used to, I think in 2015, I joined the company in 2014. So in 2015, we negotiated with a European company to start the joint venture on a 7-day croissant. So we launched that soon. I think in 2018 we set up the factory, then we launched the new category. Unfortunately, due to corporate structural changes, today we no longer own the business. So we are still back to square one, and we are still looking at developing another category, preferably an adjacent category that can complement our route to market, our industrial capabilities.
Okay, very good, excellent. So clarity in your vision, number 1, to be number 1 in Malaysia, and then to expand and take advantage of the huge Southeast Asian market. And then number 3, new business, and then unfortunately there was some changes in that in the JV with the JV company. Okay, very good. So how long did it take you to get to number 1, Rod?
Well, I think this is a very interesting story that I wanted to share.
Please.
In order for us to drive the financial discipline and making sure that we are making the right decision to grow profit, we put in some hurdle rates. For example, if you are running a promotion, you need to have a ROI of 1.2 versus your previous promotion. We also said that, look, if you want to launch new brands, it needs to have more better margin than your current portfolio, because it doesn't make sense for you to launch a new product with less margin, right? And eventually it will eat into your margin. So these are the fundamental that we put in. What was the question again? I kind of missed it.
Yeah, I was asking, how long did it take you to get to number one, no?
Oh yeah,
with
yeah.
thing,
So that was the story I was going to tell you. So because of the financial discipline and to get our people away on focusing just buying market share. I think all of us have been FMCG before. If we want to really drive market share, we can spend in some of the channels and we will be able to get good traction on the share. So I removed the market share KPI from the company KPI. I still remember the marketing director was not very happy about that. She came to see me and I said, look, let's focus to build fundamental. So we started to look at 4 areas really. Number one, continue to develop and also produce a great quality product. Yeah, I think in any business, your number one go-to strategy have to be a product. It have to be a great product. If you launch a Me Too product, the chance of you becoming successful is very difficult. Example, if you go and eat your wonton mee, right? Next door you want to open another shop, your wonton mee have to be better than the other wonton mee. So you have to maybe give a bit more char siu or give a bit more wonton or something like that. Because otherwise it's going to be very difficult for you to challenge the incumbent. So we focus on our product, and the good thing is our founder are also very focused, on using the best ingredient for our biscuits. So if you taste a Munchy biscuit, you really have a great tasting product. Yeah, I remember when I first joined the company, we are on financial discipline, right? So of course I look at places where I can reduce wastages, reduce costs. So I told the founder, I said, hey, you're using this chocolate that is really expensive. Can I change it to another type of chocolates for one of our products? And he said, no, we should always use the best ingredient, because if your ingredient is not of the best quality, then your product will not be the best testing, and then your consumer will go away. So that's the fundamental that we have, having a great product. Second thing that we look at is how do we develop a strong route to market. Yeah, I think having a great product is one thing, but the ability to reach your consumer is another thing, right? So we develop strong basic fundamental. We build the talents to run the route to market, whether they are modern trade, general trade, wholesale, special channels. So we did that. The third thing is, in order for you to be number one, you need to invest to grow your brands. So prior to that, we invest in A&P, we invest in commercial spend, but we are not that focused because we have a number of brands, right? And we only have this little amount of money. Yeah. You never have an unlimited amount of spend, right? So we then refocus and said that, look, Lexus and Hot Crunch is our power brand. So we only focus spending on this brand, coming out with the campaign to drive the growth of the brand. And today, if you look at all the third-party reports, we have one of the highest top of mind for biscuit brand. And last but not least is innovation. I think innovation is absolutely important. So what we did was, in order for the team to continue to churn out innovative products, we put in a hurdle rate into our company KPI and said that, look, 10% of the business must come from innovation, newly launched product or NPDs from the last 24 months. and that itself propel the company to continue to launch innovation. And today we are recognized, and this is SC Nielsen report, we are recognized as the leading innovative company for biscuits in Malaysia. So I guess that is the kind of a flywheel that we have. Continue to come out with great products, continue to improve our route to market, invest in our brand to grow, and lead the market in innovation. And that's got us to become the #1 brand in Malaysia. And it has been a very exciting journey. Of course, holding on to the #1 is another thing. So it has been very challenging. And of course, there are months that we lost that #1, but MAT volume share, we are still #1 in the last few years.
It's great, man. Okay. So who would be your #2 closest or #2 or 3 closest competitors? Is there one trend or?
Well, the multinational company definitely is, well, it depends on whether you look at volume or value share, right? As a brand, we are #1, but in terms of value share, Mondelez is #1. In terms of volume share, we are #1. So I tend to look at how many consumers are eating munchies today. Yeah. So if you go on that basis, we are the #1 because we are the volume share #1.
Great, excellent. So you talked about brand building there and focusing the budgets on Lexus and Oat Crunch, and that made a difference. One of the things that made a difference. Can you give it an idea how much budget you would put behind A&P?
Well, we are not a multinational. Typically, multinational will put 8 to 10%, and it depends on category, right? We put between 6 to 8% of our top line into A&P. Yeah. Of course, even you have 6 to 8% top line into your A&P, when you spread it across many brands, it's not that significant. However, if you put it behind 1 or 2 brands, it really propels the brand.
Yes.
So my sharing with your listener is that look, it's always very tempting, right, to invest in all the different brands, but does it make sense or not? For example, when we are looking at our international business strategy, we export to 50 countries. There's no way we can invest in 50 countries. Yeah, and we also do not have the resources to invest in 50 countries. So then it becomes a strategic choice. Where do you want to invest? And we landed on Southeast Asia. Yeah, of course we export to America, we export to South America, we export a lot to the Middle East. We are in China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan. But those markets is a bit further away, and also it is highly competitive market. And for us, trying to understand the consumer, investing in research is going to be very challenging at this point in time. Are we interested in those markets? Yes, but not at this time. So our roadmap is, let's get our act together in Southeast Asia before we start thinking about markets that is far bigger and further away from us.
Yeah. So a couple of things there, Rod. So you started by talking about clarity, and that's absolutely clear. And then the strategic selection, working with the limited resources. And as I tell my clients very often, less is more. Sometimes less is more. So focusing our limited budget, for example, on a couple of brands and building them to be power brands was a good strategic decision, rather than spreading yourself too thin across so many different products that you have, and then not really making a real impact, right? And then now focusing on Southeast Asia rather than spreading yourself all over the place. Even though you're in 50 markets, but you have the ability to select and pick and well studied on the factors, so knowing that Southeast Asia, there's a lot of commonality in the consumer groups. In Indonesia and Philippines, for example, and the consumer habits are very similar. So if you're talking to the Muslim market, which is huge in Indonesia, I guess the halal factor plays a big role, and synergizing from all that, huh? Very good. Okay. I want to shift a bit, Rodney, to also talk about your team, no? Because I think you have, I don't know what's your staff force, but it must be in the hundreds or maybe 1,000 people. And well, I guess in materializing any strategy, in executing any strategy, teamwork is essential, right? So I guess it'd be the same for Munchies, no? So maybe you could share with us your what you've been doing behind that, no? Behind building a great team and a strong team, and you were talking about skills and all that. So maybe you can shed some light on that side of things.
Yeah, well, I think teamwork is given in any company, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How I look at this is, let me use an analogy. I look at teamwork as like a jigsaw puzzle, you know. If all the pieces are in place, then you get a beautiful picture, right? So organizations are set up with different function. Your finance, you have
Marketing,
sales,
sales.
your marketing, your ops, your industrial, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Each of these functions have to play their role well. Yeah. And it is not really which function is important. We have heard debates about which functions is important. I remember when I was a young manager, I attended a workshop and the facilitator asked this question: which function in your company is the most important? Of course, as a sales guy, then I would say sales is most important, right? And then the marketers will say that, look, we are the most important. If we don't launch product, you have nothing to sell. Then the industrial guy came out and said, hey, we are the most important. If we don't produce, you have nothing to launch and you have nothing to sell. And finance will say, if we don't give you money, you have nothing to launch. So the debate is ongoing. But the point that I want to drive is each function have a role to play. And every function need to play it well. And if we play it well and in a very coordinated manner, that's when you have teamwork, right? So for me, it's about building talents. When you talk about teamwork, it's really about building talents, whether it's internal or external talents. For team to function well, you need to have clarity in the common goal. Yeah, you can't have finance asking for financial discipline and commercial guy, just go on spending as they like, right? So then you will have a disconnect in the direction. You need to also put in a very strong motivational factor. Yeah, it's not really only about compensation. It's also about recognitions. It's also about the ownership of that team, right? But the two most important thing I find that works very well for teamwork is you need to have constant communication. Each of the function, each of the team member need to know what's going on. Yeah, because a lot of time when you have how do I say this? When you have challenges, is due to miscommunication. Yeah. The last bit, and this is the most important bit, will be trust. You need to build strong, high level of trust among your team member. You have to, as a team member, you can't be watching your back all the time. You need to know that, hey, my team members have my back.
Yeah.
So whatever I do, if I miss some steps, they are going to come in and they're going to support me and they're going to carry me through. So that is what we have built.
Can you maybe share with us how do you do that, Rod? How do you keep constant communication going in an organization of hundreds or thousands? And how do you make sure that people are open and honest and really covering each other? How do you? Yeah, how do you build the culture and all that? What are the practices?
So there are a lot of pieces in this blog, right? I just share one simple thing that we have done. So when I first joined Munchies, and I start talking to people, and I realized that communication was not really a key focus, and also there seems to be a lot of a lack of trust, really among the function. So I started what I call a leadership weekly meeting every Monday, 2 p.m., 1 hour. Hold the head of functions. The GM will come into the room. No agenda. We have a whiteboard, and then we will write. We'll ask finance, do you have anything to share? Right, I will write on the whiteboard, and then we will get all the topics from all the different functions, and then we'll discuss it one by one and collectively make decisions. And we did that for the first 2 years, every week, no exception. 1 hour only. And the team members asked me, who's going to take the minutes? I said, look, guys, you are all mature leaders. Let's not take minutes. We need to trust that if this is what we said we are going to do, then we have to do it. And I'm not going to come back to the next Monday and say, hey, Mr. CFO, have you done your piece or not? I think that's not the point. But the idea is, number one, because you have 1,200 people so in the company, right? So you have different functions doing things differently. So there are a lot of happenings. And not all the time you're able to share this, but we create this forum or platform that we are able to share all the happening. So that's one. Second thing is, by spending time together as team members, 1 week, 1 hour, talking very openly, very transparently, you started to build that trust. Because a lot of time functions really don't realize that. For example, if you're in sales, if you make some commitment on the cash fill, on the your delivery lead time without talking to your supply chain or logistic members, right? It will affect them. All right. Likewise, if you started to control inventory without talking to your commercial team, it also affects them. So the point is, whatever decision that we make has to be aligned across functions, and everyone needs to understand the goal behind the decision, and that my decision in this function is not going to impact yours. In fact, it is going to help you. So there is one very simple thing that we did, and it promotes really great cross-functional understanding, and it built trust. Of course, there are lots of other communication that we have done. Second thing is, I mentioned about building a strong team, right? It's about getting the right talent in. I think listeners need to understand that if you bring in the wrong talent, there is a cost to it, and it not only costs resources, but it also disrupt your business. So as a CEO, I spend about 30% of my time interviewing from assistant manager up. And in fact, yesterday I have an interview with a key account manager, and the ladies mentioned that, hey, you're CEO, why are you interviewing me as a key account manager? So I explained to her, and I took the time to share with her. I think it's very important that we get the right talent in, not only on the skill set, but also having the right behaviors, having the right culture, and most importantly, does it fit into our company? You can be the best talent, but if you do not have the same culture, it is very difficult to fit. It's very difficult to change behavior. So I think if you are able to bring in the right talent, say for example, we think teamwork is very important in Munchy, right? We want to bring people in who have a high sense of teamwork, rather than if you bring in a lot of individual kind of performer, then it doesn't match with your company culture. So these are the two things that we did, and I must say, the Munchy team is really, really good people. Very, very strong will, and we have through all these things that we have done, started to move into a high performance culture, and that's why we are able to deliver our result year in year out. But of course, during the pandemic, is a bit of a different picture, right?
Yes, that's excellent. No, Rod, I really like your whiteboard 1 hour a week meeting with your leadership team and really trashing out the issues very openly, and the concept of not having minutes and then that's slowly building trust. And I like how you devoted 2 years to it, because it's not, I mean, transformation or change doesn't happen overnight, doesn't happen over 3 months or 3 weeks. No, it takes some time. So you stuck with it for 2 years, building up that culture of openness, sharing, and then handling issues and challenges there and then in front of your leadership team. Fantastic, very good. Okay, moving on to talk about, you're talking about the pandemic time. So that leads me to ask you, maybe you can finish up on this. A lot of companies have, a lot of SMEs have challenges in normal times doing a plan, right? So in this very highly volatile and uncertain times, to do planning is, a lot of them are telling me, how can we plan? Things are so uncertain, so volatile. So I just wanted to get your perspective, Rod, on how do you guys do planning? Do you still plan in these times, and then what are some things you do there?
Well, planning is absolutely important. I think all of us know that this saying that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you look at what is planning, planning is but a set of activities or action to allow you to achieve a desired result. Yeah. Even in pandemic, we still want to achieve result. It's not that we're going to throw the result out of the window, right?
Yeah.
But I also want to say this: without a plan, you still can achieve result. It's not that you can't achieve result, but this is what I call result by accident. Yeah. So end of the year, you open your ang pao and wow, we achieve our target and we are so happy, right? But that's the problem without planning, because planning is about a design. You design that plan this way, your sets of activity or action that you're going to carry out in order for you to reach that result. And why is planning so important? Because it creates what I call a repeatable model. Yeah. If today I plan to achieve number one in Malaysia market, number one brand in Malaysia, we know that the set of plans that we put in, the set of activity that we put in, that allow us to do that. And we can then take this, lift this, and shift it to another country and apply the same thing. Of course, different market dynamic come in, so on and so forth. But you know that you have a model that allow you to repeat those results. Yeah. Now, in uncertain time, and we are in uncertain time, right? It's in the pandemic. One of the things that come to my mind straight is Murphy's Law, right? Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. We didn't know that the government is going to tell us beginning of last year that you only have 50% resources.
Yeah.
Then
and it'll go wrong at the worst possible time, right? Yeah.
Yeah. How are we going to run our lines when we only have 50% headcount? I have 1,000 people in the factory. If you give me 500, then I for sure can't produce the thing. So going back to this example, last year when the MCO first started, there was a huge upsurge in panic buying. I'm sure your wife also rushed out to buy food, right? Because we are locked down for the first time in our life.
Yes.
And biscuits, biscuits being essential, it grew 50% in the first month of the lockdown. Now, you think about it, we only have 50% workforce, market grew 50%, and our customers are clamoring for our product. We have to review our plan, and that's where planning come in, right? So then what is the plan that you need to have? So for us, we pivoted into cutting down all our, we have, because we export to 50 countries, plus Malaysia, plus Singapore and Brunei, we have about 400 SKU. We cut down a number of SKU to 28 SKU. And that allow us 28.
From 400 to 28, wow, okay.
Yeah, why do we do that? Because it allows us to run the lines non-stop. to gain the highest efficiency and output. And that enable us to meet the market upsurge. So if we have not done that, then we would be producing the 400 SKU. Then you have your supply chain disruptions, you have the logistic disruption that will not be able to give us the result that we have gotten last year.
Okay.
Second thing that I wanted to share is you need to have contingency planning. Planning is not only about the first set of plan, and in the difficult time, have contingency plan. Run your scenario. And one of the contingency plan that we look at is after the first MCO, we realized that with 50% headcount, it's not only us, but our supplier only have 50% headcount. So we have a problem sourcing for materials because they're processing half, and both packaging material, both raw material, we also have a problem. So build in the contingency plan and said that this is what we're going to do. We're going to increase our stock holding, our inventory of materials. We're going to increase the inventory of our finished goods, and that allow us to buy through the period, right? So during pandemic, it is even more important to plan, but you plan with various scenario, in mind. Because if there's a scarcity scenario, what do you then do? If there's upsurge scenario, what do you then do? If you only have 50% headcount, then it's even more important to plan your manufacturing schedule. It's even more important because you can't have 1,000 people. You're going to have half. What are you going to do with that half? The choices need to make, and choices have to develop into the plans that you're going to execute later on. I hope that gives you a good perspective of planning during uncertain time. Yes,
definitely. Some very good insights there, Rod. And I just want to say, that, some people look at it and the grass is greener on the other side paradigm, and they say, yeah, this guy is lucky because he's in the essential goods industry, But I think that last point you said where, you have to follow SOP, you have to comply with SOP. And yes, the market is there, but when your SOP is where you can only produce, when you can only have 50% of your workforce, that's still a very major impact, So how you have dealt with it by looking at different scenarios, I think that's very good. So I'd like to thank you, Rod, for all your good insights and generous sharing. And maybe we can finish off by maybe tapping into your brain and asking you, what would be one or two pieces of advice that you would give to SMEs during this challenging time, this pandemic times,
Yeah, this is a very good question. I've worked about 38 years now in my life. I can tell you the past 18 months has been the toughest ever. There are just so many moving parts. After the first MCO, you have RMCO, your CMCO, and lately we have the FMCO, and we are now stuck with 60% workforce for the past 3 months. And if you look at the challenges, if you look at, for example, freight costs has gone up 2 to 3 times, and in some market it went up 5 times. Example, a normal time container to Saudi Arabia is maybe 2,500 USD, and today is close to 8,000 or 10,000 USD. So, but times like this, I just want to share. To me, the most important thing is your people. Your people are the most important assets. You need to retain them, you need to motivate them, and you need to make sure that you upskill your people during this time, because handling a pandemic, a business during a pandemic, and handling a business during normal time really is different, right?
Yeah, it's crisis management.
Also, yes. Also, I'm also very pleased to share that. Well, you can say we are lucky because we are still in the essential category, right? We have not cut a single job, not a single salary since the pandemic, and we've been holding on to our people. And that's something that I'm very proud of the company. Yeah. So I have a couple of sharing, I wouldn't say advice. One, remain calm. Yeah. And that's very important, because if you go into a panic mode, you can't make great decisions. So you need to remain calm. Secondly, you also know that it's a matter of time. It will go away, and it will. If you look at the Spanish flu in 1918 and 1919, I think it went away. So no need to get overly excited. The time will pass, and this will go away. Second thing that I would recommend, develop a good business continuity plan. Example of a business continuity BCP is how are you going to protect your people? Like in Munchy, we have a clear set of SOP to protect our people, and we invested in that. In the past 18 months, we invested more than 3 million additional in benefits to protect our people, and of course by buying masks, by buying sanitizer, by giving them meals, lunch, so that they don't have to go out and expose themselves when they come to the factory or the offices, by giving them additional allowance, incentive, to keep them motivated. Yeah, so that's one. Second thing, engage your customer. Yeah, there will be challenges in supply chain, so on and so forth. So you need to have a constant communication with your customer, particularly your key customer, so they know what is your challenges, and you also at the same time know what is the challenges, and how do you then pivot to a plan that can help one another. Stabilize your supply chain. Like I shared earlier, one of the ways for us to stabilize supply chain is to increase our inventory. Yeah, I'm not saying that this will work for every company. It works for us. Other categories or other industry may be different. Yeah. Another important consideration: conserve your cash. Yeah. When the MCO first hit us, we immediately draw down a few loans to make sure that we have enough cash in the company to tie us through any period, right? But of course, we are lucky in the sense that we're in essential. We continue to be able to market our product, and we are able to get revenue. But not all companies or not all industry are able to do that. These are a few examples of a BCP business continuity plan. And the last bit of sharing I want to offer is do a lot of scenario setting. Yeah. Because scenario setting will allow you to evolve your plan, allow you to build a contingency in case if scenario happen, A happen, what do you then do? If B happen, what do you then do? We spend a lot of time doing that. And if you have enough scenario setting, you have enough contingency plan, then whatever moving parts that's going to happen, you are able to at least handle it right. And you will not be like, blur, about what's going to happen next. So I hope this help. Well, we are also learning. We're also learning. We are not saying that we know what is happening, but we're also grateful that we have great team members, great leaders in the company who came out with all these things, to help the business. And I must say, despite the pandemic, we are lucky to have one of our better year last year. But of course, this year is continued to be a huge challenge. So hopefully, we will all get through this together in one piece. But like I said, it is just a matter of time. This will pass, and then we'll be back to chasing target. We'll be back to trying to grow more profit for the business.
Yes. Okay. So on that note, Rod, I'd like to thank you once again for your time, for your sharing, for your insights and learning experiences. And wish you all the best in your continued journey with Munchies. So take care and stay safe.
Thank you, Peter. Thank